What's going on, YouTube? How you guys doing today? That's good to hear. We're back with another installment of Kicking It with Krash. And today, we're going to talk about another controversial subject. Should marijuana be legal? Yeah, I know, that's a tough one. So, today, a random guy walks up to me, he's like, hey, what do you think is going to happen when we legalize marijuana in this country? And I'm like, shit, I don't know. It's going to make a lot of people fucking rich. And he looks at me and he says, no, it's going to kill a lot of people. What? So now I'm like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? So I tell him, I'm like, sir, I need you to elaborate. What the fuck are you talking about? And he says, just like crack back in the 80s, when people were doing crack, they didn't have any idea the effects it was going to have on the kids. And then we got crack babies. And I'm like, okay, I kind of see where you're going. Like, nobody pregnant should do drugs. Like, that's a no-brainer. But then he starts going in on, like, if it's going to be for medical use, then it shouldn't be allowed to be smoked, only oil or pill form, which, okay, you know, I kind of see where he's coming from. But then he goes in and he's like, it's way worse than alcohol. So I'm like, how is it worse than alcohol? Can you explain to me? So this guy starts going in on how when you're drunk, there's ways of detecting that you're drunk and you'll get charged with a DUI. But if they legalize marijuana, then it'll be legal, and even if you drive under the influence, there will be no penalty. And that's kind of where he lost me. I'm like, so dude, what you're telling me is alcohol is legal, but you can still get a DUI. But if they legalize marijuana, then you can't get a DUI for that. He's like, yeah, because there's no way of detecting it. All right, so there's no way of detecting it, yet I'm pretty sure police departments across the country spend thousands and thousands of dollars on specialized DUI training for their officers so they'll be able to detect when people are under the influence of marijuana, cocaine, alcohol, any type of substance that would hinder you or impair your driving. So yeah, then this guy goes on to tell me how it's just all around going to be bad because in Denver they legalized it for recreational use, and yet their car accidents involving marijuana have went up tremendously. I don't know if that's true or not. Like, I didn't do any kind of fact checking before I made this video or anything like that. So that could be true, but I mean, if it is true, that's kind of to be expected when you're introducing something new that's legal to the market. I mean, even though I know marijuana's not new, but the legality of it being new, then of course it's going to get people trying it that necessarily wouldn't have tried it or haven't tried it prior, and, you know, not knowing what it's going to do to them. Especially with different forms that they have, you know, like somebody who smoked weed in the 70s and then fucking takes a dab today, and they're going to be in a whole different world. So, you know, that's kind of to be expected, but you do have to look at the benefits of it as well, especially when it comes to the tax revenue. Like, that's probably one of the biggest incentives for any municipality or city or whatever the fuck you want to call it to go ahead and legalize it, because it would generate so much profit. What you really have to ask yourself, though, is it going to balance out? In my opinion, the reason marijuana remains illegal on the federal level and remains a Schedule I is because the jail sentence or the people that get locked up for it and the money generated through the prison system or the fine system is greater than the money they can visually see through the legalization and taxation of it. therefore they don't do it. And I know everybody's like, well, look at Colorado. Look how much money they've made. It's kind of hard to tell somebody, look how much money somebody else has made by legalizing it, and they can't like see that money in their hand versus saying, hey, look how much money you have in your hand by locking people up. Like, you're going to give this up for a possibility that you're going to make millions of dollars through taxation, which any logical human being would know that there's enough responsible adults out here that smoke marijuana while it being illegal that are going to convert over to smoking marijuana if it was legal. So you know the tax money would definitely be there. I think a lot of times it really just comes down to it being a morals issue. Like, drugs are bad because they tell us they're bad. And, you know, people that grow up and they hear drugs are bad, drugs are bad, drugs are bad, are gonna always say that drugs are bad. Like, I mean, it's indoctrinated into them, kind of like religion, you know? What you have to look at is marijuana is a plant, just like tobacco or hops, for instance. So, I mean, you can't say that this plant is worse than that plant. So yeah, guys, if you live somewhere where marijuana is legal, drop down and let me know, what have you seen beneficial to the legalization of marijuana? If you live somewhere where it's illegal, tell me why you think it should remain illegal. Or if you're for the legalization, then tell me why. But until the next time, ride safe.